you have seen the outrageous articles that are posted on your newsfeed. Today, I'm here to talk about a problem our nation has been plagued with since the rise of social media. People are believing whatever they hear or read on social media and through traditional news sources without any kind of fact-checking, and I'm here today to tell you why that needs to change. False news and misinformation affect everyone in today's society, and I spent the past several weeks looking at different news sources and fact-checking some of the outrageous claims that my own friends have been sharing on Facebook. Freedom of the press is failing us. There is more bogus information out there than there has ever been before, and it falls on each and every one of us to take responsibility and to correct the issue of us sharing that information. Today, I'm going to address the problem that has developed within our society of people posting news and information from illegitimate resources, to talk about people who twist facts to suit their own agenda, and how to solve this problem by getting news from reliable sources and being skeptical of stories that fit our own personal bias just a little bit too well. Let me start by telling you about one article that I saw on my Facebook feed that a lot of people shared, but I'd be willing to bet many of them didn't actually read. The article I'm referring to was published by the Huffington Post, and it's called "Bernie Sanders Could Replace President Trump with Little Known Loophole." This article was popping up all over my Facebook page, and people were just rejoicing. I was intrigued, I have to admit, by the idea that there's some random loophole that could possibly put some random person in office, and I was really surprised by what I found. The article actually wasn't about a political loophole. It was talking about what I'm here to speak to you about today. That even though it's like common sense that a loophole like that can't exist, we still click on the article, and we still share the article based solely on the title. Our society is being fed news based on whatever we want to hear, and we are just eating it up. The day after our presidential election, Eric Tucker, a 35-year-old co-founder of a marketing company in Austin, Texas, posted this tweet that states, quote, "Anti-Trump protesters in the Austin area are not as organic as they seem. Here are the buses they came in. Hashtag fake protesters, hashtag Trump 2016, hashtag Austin." What this guy didn't realize is that the buses were hired by a company called Tableau Software, which had a convention that weekend that drew more than 13,000 people to that area. His lack of information led to a fallacy that spread like wildfire. It was retweeted 16,000 times. It was shared on Facebook more than 350,000 times. And when he was confronted by reporters asking about posting this false statement, he stated, quote, that he is a very busy man and he doesn't have time to fact check everything he puts on there, end quote. Fake stories and catchy headlines that agree with our points of view are causing an epidemic of misinformation, but they are far from the only culprit. Twisted facts and presenting correlations as causes fill our traditional media nearly as much as these false stories that are spread on social media. There are several prominent culprits, but today I'm going to focus on just one. Ann Coulter is a widely recognized, highly opinionated, widely respected conservative columnist and author who is a figurehead for many right-wing Americans, and she's widely respected by her readers. On an episode of Father Albert, which is a Fox TV show, she was interviewed about her views on single mothers. Coulter cites statistics that state, quote, 70% of juvenile delinquents, teenage runaways, and pregnancies out of wedlock are committed by children of single mothers, end quote. She uses this statistic to assert that, quote, if you were in the womb right now and you could choose whether to be black, white, rich, or poor, the one thing you should hope for as a child in the womb is that your mother is married to your father, end quote. Her opinion is that single mothers should either give up their child for adoption or marry the father of their baby for the sake of the child. This woman doesn't care about the other factors within the homes of those 70% of children. She doesn't care about those facts and statistics because she might stumble across information that refutes her claims. This kind of ignorance and twisting is dangerous because some people who make legislation actually listen to people like her. Facts and stories that are presented in condescending ways, like Coulter presents her news, doesn't actually give anyone the truth of the issues we face. It simply colors these statistics to appeal to people who share extreme points of view. People like Ann Coulter are part of why we need to take steps to make sure that we don't drown in the sea of fallacies in which we tread. The Huffington Post article that I mentioned earlier has a list of 5 simple strategies to help you stay afloat. The first is pretty self-explanatory. Just read the article. I know we're all guilty of having clicked share before we read an article because the title was catchy, but that's the kind of thing that needs to stop. The second thing is to check the sources of your articles. If there's any kind of statistic or fact posted, there will be a citation if it's a legitimate source. If there's not a citation, ignore the information. Third, watch out for recycled news stories. Things that have happened in the past that people post because they are trying to strengthen their case by using past news and making it seem like it's recent. The fourth strategy is to ignore blatantly biased news sources. It's completely acceptable to take a stance on a topic. That is what we are doing today in this speech. However, it is another thing entirely to take specific information and twist it to the point where you're trying to use that to make your case stronger in spite of other information. Most sites that include the words conservative, liberal, Republican, or Democrat are going to give you blatantly biased news. It's written to appeal to a certain audience. So if you choose to gather information from sites like that, just accept that you're never going to get the full story. The fifth thing, and probably the easiest, is to Google the information that you just found. Read a few articles about the same topic that are recent and see if they tell the same story. These strategies are going to help ensure that you are a responsible reader and that you can make a difference in the way the news is presented. In this speech, I told you about the spread of false information that is happening within our society and where we have become relying on social media for our news. I told you about some prominent people who twist facts to suit their arguments and their perspectives, and I told you 5 strategies that will help you to wade through all of the bogus stories that we are exposed to every day. When you leave today, remember that there is a huge problem with people believing whatever they read on social media or hear from biased news sources. It's our responsibility as contributing members of society to stop the spread of misinformation with us. As Malcolm X said, the media is the most powerful entity on earth. They have the power to make the innocent guilty or to make the guilty innocent, and that is power because they control the minds of the masses. Don't just be one of the masses, free yourself.